Have you ever imagined what lies hidden beneath the ice layers of the world's most remote mountains? What ancient secrets are waiting to be discovered up there? Could we find animals still alive? And what if these discoveries could transport us back in time, connecting us directly to the peoples and cultures of the past? From relics of lost adventurers to traces of ancient Vikings, what can we learn from these artifacts frozen in time? Join me on this fascinating journey through ice and time, where each discovery poses a question that takes us deeper into history. Get ready to uncover the mysteries hidden beneath the mountain ice. In 1952, a US Air Force plane called the C-124 Globemaster II crashed into a massive mountain while flying from Washington to Alaska. Sadly, none of the 52 people on board survived. The bad weather at the time made it difficult to locate the crash site, and even afterward, all attempts to find it failed. But in 2012, a helicopter team on a training mission spotted the wreckage of the crashed plane on a glacier called Colony Glacier in Alaska. They began searching for more wreckage and confirmed it was indeed the missing aircraft. Since then, every summer, for nearly a decade, different military groups have assisted in an operation called Colony Glacier. They've managed to identify 40 of the 52 people who lost their lives in the crash. The soldiers involved in this mission take their promise of never leaving a fallen comrade behind very seriously. They believe it's their duty to bring back those who didn't survive. Another fascinating discovery comes from the Alps in 1991. Some hikers exploring the picturesque Alps stumbled upon a half-frozen human body at the top of a mountain pass between Italy and Austria. Initially, local police thought it might have been a recent mountaineering accident. But weeks later, archaeologists began to suggest that this individual could have lived over 5,000 years ago. Eventually, they nicknamed the frozen fellow Ötzi after the nearby Ötztal Valley. He became quite famous as the oldest recorded ice mummy. His frozen state might not be as unique as we once thought, and this is where things get really interesting. Archaeologists have another theory. You see, at first, everyone was convinced that Ötzi marked the beginning of a colder period because he had been frozen in the ice without interruption since he died. However, over the past few decades, glaciers and ice patches around the world have been melting like ice cream on a hot summer day. Not only has Ötzi emerged, but other ancient relics like bodies, hunting equipment, horse droppings, and even old skis have started to surface. Archaeologists now say that there are similar Ötzis out there. They've found several, and all fit perfectly into this growing field of glacial archaeology. It seems that as the world warms, it will continue to reveal even more ancient secrets from the deep freeze. Moving on to another incredible discovery in 2018, William Taylor and Nick Jarman were exploring the snowy slopes of Mongolia's Altai Mountains when they stumbled upon an ancient treasure hidden in the ice. Inside this treasure, they found a remarkably well-preserved arrow shaft, around 3,000 years old, decorated with ochre markings. It was in pristine condition, a rarity for organic items that old. They also uncovered other items, like a bronze arrowhead with animal sinews still attached. All these relics had remained untouched for hundreds of years since they were locked in ice in Mongolia. Rising temperatures have been melting ice patches that remained frozen for centuries. Similar discoveries have been made in the Yukon, Italy, Siberia, and Norway. Thousands of sites have been identified, but scientists are racing against time to document and preserve these artifacts before they are lost forever. Studying these artifacts challenges the perception of these environments as wilderness regions and shows how indigenous peoples coexisted with nature. Sometimes people find simpler items as basic as a sandal. One such sandal, discovered in a mountain pass in central Norway, indicates that people used this route approximately 1,700 years ago. This suggests that there was less snow and ice in the area during that time. The sandal, dated to around 300 BC, resembles Roman sandals from that period. Again in Norway, hunters found an iron sword high on a mountain over 1,600 meters above sea level. With no nearby burial sites, it's puzzling why someone would have a sword in such a remote location. Archaeologists speculate that its owner might have gotten lost. Then, in 2011, strange objects resembling giant slingshots began to appear as the ice melted. Radiocarbon dating suggests that this particular object was made around 400 BC. It measures over a meter in length and shows knife cuts. This puzzled archaeologists until a team member recognized them as turs, or tongs used to hold loads on sleds when transporting hay or animal feed. People in the area used hay sleds with these tongs until the 1950s, when tractors became more common. Now let's go back thousands of years in time. We can easily do that by looking at this woolly mammoth. This creature looks a bit like a cherished but slightly worn-out toy. This ancient giant, which roamed the earth around 39,000 years ago, is the best preserved mammoth ever found. Even its iconic shaggy fur is surprisingly well preserved, having been trapped in glacial ice until its recent discovery in Siberia. This remarkable animal is taking the spotlight in Yokohama, Japan, where scientists are conducting tests that might bring this extinct species back to life. When they discovered this female mammoth, they found a hidden treasure. A sample of its blood preserved in the ice. They believed that this ancient blood could be the key to resurrecting the mammoth. They also found well-preserved muscle tissue. She was between 50 and 60 years old when she met her frozen fate. The discovery of mammoth blood has reignited debates about the ethics of bringing extinct creatures back to life, much like in Jurassic Park. Their ambitious plan is to implant an egg into a living elephant for a 22-month gestation period, hoping that at least one mammoth cell will survive. Let's go. We're heading to the French Alps, to a site not far from where an Air India plane tragically crashed 46 years ago. We're accompanied by a diligent mountain rescuer and his neighbor. They went to the area after a group of tourists spotted something unusual on a glacier. It was a bag. The Indian embassy in Paris learned about it and was determined to retrieve it. The interesting part is that it had diplomatic mail written on it. The Air India flight was on its way from Mumbai to New York when it went down in January 1966, taking 117 people with it. And guess what else was inside the bag besides the soaked diplomatic mail? There was a bunch of old Indian newspapers. Along with that, they also found pieces of the pilot's cabin, a lone shoe, and a bunch of cables. Totally unexpected treasures on that mountain. During the summer of 2013, scientists discovered a message left by a geologist named Walker, who had hidden it 44 years earlier. This message served as the man's last testament. He passed away just a month after hiding the bottle among the rocks on the island. The message's contents were quite surprising. In 1959, Walker had measured the distance from those same rocks to the glacier's edge, and it was a mere 3 meters. By 2013, that distance had grown to 121 meters. Researchers are convinced that this sharp contrast between the two measurements highlights the impact of ongoing global warming. Imagine the ice melting in the mountains of Norway, acting like a time machine, revealing a treasure trove. Nearly 800 Viking artifacts, hidden for over 1,000 years, have been unearthed. They give us a glimpse into the bustling trade networks of the Viking era and the crucial role mountain passes played in this ancient commerce. Among the discoveries are leather shoes, cozy wool gloves, stylish tunics, feathered arrowheads, horseshoes, walking staffs, and kitchen gadgets from the Viking chef's toolkit. There are even souvenirs from Viking pack horses. These artifacts provide clues about ancient travel habits and peak moments when these paths were bustling with activity, offering us a peek into the lives of adventurers long ago.